All right, guys, welcome back. First things first is this is the new Humminbird XPLORE 9 I picked up. This is the chirp model, so you guys can see in here. This is all what it comes with. I've already kind of played with it a little bit. Went ahead and put the bracket on the transducer and whatnot. So we'll be putting this on the back of the boat. Got power cable here. I'll show you guys how to run that all in the boat as well. And some zip ties and mounting hardware. Some more hardware. I don't think we'll be using that. We're going to put some powder coated stuff on, make it look pretty. But here is the actual graph itself. Super excited to have this thing on the boat. Definitely going to be a game changer for finding fish deep during the summer and whatnot. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, we're going to mount this bad boy right on the side console here. This one's going to go up front. Just because the side scan, having that idling around, it's going to be super nice up here. Trying to find some spots, and then we'll have down scan on this up front. So I've got a ram ball already kind of installed on here, but we're actually going to be getting rid of this and putting a bigger 2.5-inch ball on here, because when you've got a 9-inch unit like that up front here, it weighs a lot. So when you're underway, obviously you don't want to lose that graph in the water, especially on a flat bottom boat like this. So first things first is going to be popping the old one off, getting that thing out of the way, taking all the old transducer and stuff off, and then yeah, so it's just, I mean, it's super simple. Your old 2-pin power and then your 4-pin for the transducer. So that stuff's going to go bye-bye. We're going to get this brand new unit hooked up here. So we'll get this pulled off. First thing I'm going to do is I've got 4 M6 bolts right here bolted down to the console here. So we'll get that pulled off so that free up space to get these cables out, take this little gland off, and we're going to put some better hardware on that. And then we'll have to fish our transducer cable down this rail and back out the back to hook it up to the back of the boat here. So this guy's going to come off. Whoever had the boat before me installed it a little too high, so we get some chop. Unfortunately, it kind of reads that we're in 200 feet of water when it's really only 20 feet. So that's first order business here. I'll be right back with you guys once I get this graph off the mount. Okay, next thing we're going to want to do is run these down through the bottom, and that is an 8mm. Let's see if I can't just get that out of the way. That power is going to have to come up through the bottom, but the transducer cable should just pop down here, and then it's zip tied up right here. Let's see if I can't cut this with one hand. Okay, all these zip ties are cut. This is the transducer cable that is ran all the way through here, all the way down into the back of the boat. And we're gonna have to actually pull it through, but what I'm gonna go ahead and do is tie some fish tape to the end of this so that once I pull the old one through, I can pull on the fish tape and attach the new transducer cable and pull it back through so we get it right up here to the front. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you guys the process of getting it pulled through. Alright, so what I've gone ahead and done here is taped up the transducer cable to the end of this fishing rod here, and then I've got a good bit of slack on this transducer cable. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is if I start pulling on this here, you can see it starting to get pulled up through the side of the boat there, and it's just going to take some pulling since there's so much slack. And I'm going to actually have to kind of bend this fishing rod in a little bit. Let's see if I can do this with one hand here. Alright, so I was really struggling to get that fish tape through for some reason, so I just went ahead and pulled it through, and we're going to run it in through the back. But if you look off the back of the boat here, this transducer cable is completely off, so that guy can be disconnected and reran up to the trolling motor here shortly. And we will go ahead and attach a couple more runs of this fish tape together here, and I'm going to run that transducer cable back up through the back and push it through up to the front here. I'll get it set up and show you guys. Alright, after a few minutes of messing with this thing, got it pulled all the way through. I ended up having to run the fish tape all the way through down here to get a good angle at it. But if you're doing this, make sure you tape it up real good so it doesn't come disconnected, and I kind of made it a nice little cone. Try and feed it through a little easier. Still kind of got a little beat up, but it's finally through, so we'll get this all disconnected, pull all the slack through, we'll get it mounted on the back before we hook it up. All right, now that this thing is ran to the back, as you can see, I've already got the mounting plate installed on this thing. Typically use 3 screws and then attach the transducer after. As you can see, there's already 3 screws in my hole, and I really don't want to, you want to try and avoid drilling holes in the hole if possible. Excuse me. And we've got a little cable stay here. I'm going to go ahead and reuse that. So I'll take that off, get this popped out, and then pop this old transducer off. We can get it ready to mount. Well, looks like we got a lock nut on the back. Hold up. All right, so the old transducer is completely off. Got the mount right here, and I've got the rest of it pretty much right here. We're gonna reuse this. I'm pretty much gonna run this. This thing is not supposed to go on a trolling motor. We're gonna make it work. So I've got a couple ideas for that. I want to keep all the hardware for it just in case, especially this guy here, because we're gonna reuse this to run the new transducer cable. So I'm gonna get it sized up here. If I hold this thing up, I can kind of see exactly where all the holes need to be. Unfortunately, it looks like they're gonna be a little too low. So what I'm gonna do is pretty much scrape all this old silicone off, and then I'm gonna plug the silicone, or plug the holes with some RTV or silicone or something like that. But it's very important to get it clean and get it sealed up so you don't get any leaks in your boat. So obviously you want to minimize the amount of holes in the boat if possible. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to drill some new ones for that guy there. But we'll get this cleaned up. I'm gonna get it filled, and then we'll get this thing self-tapped on there. All right, I've got these holes pretty much cleaned up here. What I've got is this pretty much just gasket maker, RTV. I'm gonna go ahead, and I got some rags and some Q-tips. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that I get this deep in those holes, just to ensure I get a nice good fill on all 3 of these. I really want to make sure it gets in there. Do not want any leaks. Unfortunately, well, kind of fortunately, I'm going to go ahead and mount this transducer just to the right of it. Reason being, I don't want it to get hit on the trailer loading this thing up. I want to make sure that it's all off to the side so it doesn't get knocked off or anything when you're loading it up, because you kind of want the bottom of the transducer to be pretty much flush with the hole. Otherwise you'll get some interference with water running up. So I'm going to run it kind of in between this little running channel here so that it gets clean water and we can get accurate depths while we're running, which will be super helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up a little bit with some Q-tips and some rags, and then I will get the holes marked for this guy. I'm going to kind of hold it up right where I want it, mark my 3 holes, get them a little punch, and then we'll self-tap them in. All right, I've got these holes filled really good. It's actually coming through the other end here on this side of the boat, which I like. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean it up, make sure it's all flush down there, and make sure no water can get in this thing. All right, I've got my 3 holes marked and punched up here, and the self-taps I'm gonna be using, I'm not gonna use the ones that came with. These are super nice because they've got a gasket on it. I believe they're meant for sheet metal roofing, but that gasket will be nice because it'll press up on there and really make sure that we get a good seal on this thing and no water get in. All right, I've got this thing zipped up in there. One thing I also did is kind of made a little mess here, but I basically added some gasket maker behind these screws and plate as well, so that we get a good seal up in the boat and we don't have any issues down the line. But these are filled nicely. You can see on the inside there, it's nice and coated, so no water should get in there. I'm happy with that. And when you're mounting your transducer, you can kind of see what I mentioned. This thing is pretty much flush with the hole, so water, we're not going to get any dirty water. It'll be nice clean flow. And as far as the tilt goes on it, you don't want it tilted way down. Like I said, you kind of want it just nice and flush. The other thing you can do is look at the water line on your boat. So the rear of mine sinks pretty low. Front of the boat's pretty light, kind of runs up into here. So I'm going to err on the side of tilting it more back, if anything. It'd be better for side scan and whatnot as well. So that's pretty much where mine's at the moment. I may adjust it, move it up, down. That's another thing. When you're always mounting it, I always mount it with the screws pretty much right in the center of the slides so that I can adjust it up or down the road if I need to. But I'm pretty happy with that. Got the cable running up, cable stay up here. I'm going to tighten that thing down, make sure we're good to go there, and then we'll get to installing the head unit. All right, our transducer is fully installed. Going to take the plastic off of that thing. Looking really clean. Super happy with how that turned out. Got it ran up under here, ran through, all the slacks pulled out up to the front here, as you can see, sitting in the floor. So we're gonna do some cable management, get that looking nice and pretty. Next thing we're gonna have to do is tackle all of these holes up here and this power cable. And we're likely gonna have to drill this hole out just a little bit more, and I'm gonna put a grommet in there as well, so we don't have just raw metal chewing up on my cables here. There's two different ways you can actually run this. You can run it straight to the battery, or you can run it to a fuse block like I've got here. So that's the option I'm gonna go today. But if you were running it straight to the battery, these are obviously your positive, negative, and then your boat ground. I'm just gonna run these two together since I've got everything grounded at the Blue Sea device. But if you're running straight to the battery, very important to run an inline fuse on your positive side. If you don't, you could get an overvoltage or too much amperage to your unit and smoke it, and that would be an expensive mistake. So just make sure if you go to your battery, put an inline fuse at it, fused at the correct amperage. I'll take a look in here and see what amperage it's supposed to be at for this particular unit. But yes, super important. And for me, I'm gonna put my fuse in my Blue Sea device, obviously, so it will be fused, but just something to note if you decide to go straight to your battery. Okay, power cable for the old display is out. This is pretty much how I have the wiring ran in its simplest form, for my boat at least. So obviously you've got your two conductor going to your device, coming out through the positive side. The switch will pretty much be right here. So this wire will go into the switch, this wire will come out of the switch, and these two ring terminals will go to the positive and negative on the Blue Sea device. So right now I've got my fish finder wired up to a switch here, but I'm actually going to go away from that. Reason being is because fish finders have power buttons on them, so if I need to turn it off, I can just hit the power button on it, and I'm going to eventually basically put a head unit, like a CarPlay unit right here as well, as some lights up front. So I want these two switches to be free. Obviously I'm going to need the aerator bilge. These are nav lights, and then the cabin lights as well. So I want these two switches to be freed up, and since those have a power button already on them, I'm just going to run the two wires straight to the Blue Sea device and fuse it appropriately, and then we're going to do some cable management and clean this thing up. All right, what I went ahead and did is took a step bit and actually drilled this out big enough to fit this grommet in here. So I'm actually going to clip this guy in half and then slip it around this cable, and then that grommet is going to go right there, and then I've got a new cover that's going to go right over it, and the cables are going to come right out that way. So it'll look nice and clean. This guy will really hide all of those holes, and then these holes are hidden by the actual bracket itself. So hopefully that will look pretty good here. I'm going to go ahead and feed this back down through and mark out these three holes, and I'm going to run some I'm going to use some powder coated M4 hardware for these guys with lock nuts on the back, just because where I can I try and avoid self taps and whatnot. I know they're super easy on aluminum boats like this, but if I can put good stainless hardware with Loctite and everything on it, I'm absolutely going to take the chance to do that. Especially with rivets and stuff too. I know rivets are easy, but you can see they come loose over time and kind of peel out. So we're gonna have to fix those coming down the road. Want to get somewhere to really drop box set that guy in there. Just a whole lot of stuff to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this mounted. We'll be back here in a second. All right, so my original plan didn't turn out quite the way I wanted to. Got the hole drill, got the grommets in, both the cables ran. But this guy ran over, just does not fit super well because these cables got to come back. It would just be at a really awkward angle that I did not love. So I went ahead and mounted this guy up and get the XPLORE 9 hooked up here real quick. Okay, this guy's all hooked up. Pretty much this plug will pop down here, and this guy, these are keyed, so you got to pay attention. If I can get it in, tough doing it with one hand. But essentially what I'm going to do is I'm planning on sea decking this whole boat pretty much here in the next couple weeks. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is basically just cut out a piece, pop this cup holder off, pop this grommet back out, cut out a piece, cover up these 5 or 6 holes here that I'm not a fan of. So that will get us looking much better than we are right now. But what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is hook this thing up so that I can gauge how much power cable I need, since this is going to be something that I'm actually cutting. I'm not cutting the transducer cable, but as far as the power side, I can absolutely cut that as long or as short as I would. So now I've got power and data. Transducers obviously hooked up all the way in the back, and if I were to touch those wires to the Blue Sea device, we would get power on this guy here. So it is looking really good. Turned out super good. Love the location. Granted, I did have my last one mounted right here, so this is super nice, being right in the cockpit. Got your switch panel directly under it. But all I'm gonna do is really easy, basically trim back this power cable to where I only have enough to come out of the unit and go to the Blue Sea device. So it's tucked up under here. I am going to leave enough if I ever want to cut it and extend it down the road. I can always use a butt connector and crimp on some more 2 conductor and run it down the length of the boat if I want. But having it right here is going to be super, super nice. Alrighty, all I've done here is stripped off all this excess power cable. Strip the ends back. Just be careful stripping. You don't want to cut into the jacket of your 2 conductor. Then I went ahead and put 2 butt connectors on them. Kind of had to trim them down a little bit to fit on this particular fuse block. But I'm going to go ahead and obviously negative to a negative terminal, positive is a positive terminal. I've got one open up on the top there. It's going to be a little bit tight, but super simple. I'm just going to hook these bad boys up, and then I will tuck away all of this transducer slack. And we should have power to this thing. We should get it fired up, working here in just a few minutes. All right, if y'all look up in there, those 2 yellow ring terminals, that is the graph power and negative. As you can see, that fuse slot is empty. I'm gonna go check and see what amperage fuse it needs. I've got a lot of slack right here, but I can go ahead and zip tie all that up and get it out of the way. But I'm gonna pop a fuse on there, turn this thing on, and get it tested, make sure everything is working. Alrighty, so it turns out all the XPLORE models take a 5 amp fuse. I'm gonna go ahead, pull this cover, and let's get this thing hooked up here. This battery needs some TLC. I do not love that connection. Let's see. We've got power. Like I said, I took away this fuse, so these 2 are actually dummy fuses right now that I will integrate down the road. So I'm gonna go pull that off so that I know that that is not that. Hit the power button here. That is what you like to see. Next step is just gonna be some cable management. When you're tucking this cable up, you wanna make sure that it's not super kinked. Humminbird recommends that you coil it up, and luckily I've got a spot where I can kind of tuck it away up under there here. But we'll give this thing a second, let it turn on. From my understanding, these things have a built-in Lake Master card, not the Pro card or whatever it may be. Let's see, start normal mode. Let's see what happens here. All right, she is all fired up and ready to roll. I do believe that this is in a simulation mode. Maybe not. So we're getting an active reading back here. If I gotta go and kick under this thing, everything is looking super nice. You can pick your own view. Got side scan here. Obviously it's not going to pick up anything. Being out of the water, but I think I can go into, let's see, simulation. There we go. Simulation on. Okay, yeah. We'll be right back here. Alrighty guys, that is pretty much it. The unit is fully installed. I've got the transducer cable tucked up down in there. Still got a little bit of wire cleanup to do, but overall, plenty of leg room, no wires hanging down. Got those 2 switches freed up, which will be nice down the road. But yeah, man, it is looking good. All buttoned up, looking fantastic up on the side console here. As you can see, lights and everything are working. Loving the cockpit setup here. I'm excited to get this thing on the water. All right guys, now that everything's installed, we're all loaded down. I got a little bit of daylight left. We're gonna go take this thing on the water, give it a rip, see how the new XPLORE treats us, new transducer. Get a little video. Running down the river at sunset should be quite pretty. I'm excited to see how this thing is gonna perform. So I will see y'all at the ramp. Alrighty guys, we are here at the ramp. Already got this thing loaded up here. Just gotta untie this cleat. Oh, run up north and see if we can't get on a striper or two. Man, so far, let's go ahead and create like a custom view here. New view. Do this. We'll put our side scan up at the top, our 2D down here, and our mapping down here. Let's see what we got. So number 6, look at that. That is what I'm talking about. I've already got a couple fish down here, some side scanning stuff up here. Man, this is sweet. Let's get underway here, run up, see if we can't get on a couple. Beautiful day. All right, I've ran up to our spot here. Little entry point. It ain't too far from the boat ramp here, but there's stripers all in here. If we go to just our side scan, take a look at rock piles, a bunch of other stuff. Let's see what we can find here. This is my first time having side scan in this area. So I've only had 2D down scan before, and this is going to be an absolute game changer, especially come summertime. Fish are moving deep, finding brush piles, trees, rock piles, all that sort of stuff. Going to come in huge help here. So you can see there's some fish. There's some tree piles over here, so we're going to wet a line and see if we can't get anything. I don't have anybody to film for me, so if I hook up, I will let you guys know. But we've got some fish right there. You can kind of see the black speckles on the side scan, but they're in here. We'll see if we can get them. Well guys, no fish so far. Fished that cove over there for a little while, a bunch of carp, kind of blown bass out. But man, beautiful sunset we've got here right in downtown. It is beautiful out. Gonna stay at it for another 15-20. See if we can't get something here, but so far it's been pretty slow. I will say this thing's been freaking awesome. Kind of need to move here. Ain't a whole lot happening, but yeah, man, it has been awesome to be able to actually finally see what's left right of me and not straight down under. So super helpful. Next we're going to get the graph up here. Eventually we're going to get another XPLORE unit and tie into that transducer back there, go with the Mega Live. So anyway, so far so good with the graph, just no fish yet, so we'll stay at it. Well guys, no fish unfortunately tonight. Yeah, I must just suck, because like look, they're stacked up right on that little ledge right there. Dang, I might want to throw one more time. All right, for real this time, couldn't get on them. Man, today's just one of those days where it's like, what in the world am I doing wrong? But man, cannot beat it out here right now. It is freaking gorgeous, and this thing has been treating me very well. I've got to adjust the sensitivity on it a little bit. Just getting a little bit of noise, but that shouldn't be too hard to fix up there. Zooming in, go off to zoom in over here. Oops. Center it up. There we go. But yeah, definitely need to play around with it. I'm just happy it's installed. Looking super nice. I mean, the Lake Master card is absolutely a game changer on this. I had the Navionics card on the old Graph, the Helix 9, and that's going to go up front there. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this install / a little bit of fishing. I know I didn't have anybody filming, but subscribe and we'll see you guys next time.